Pandemic, I think pandemic has faced a big, has impacted the industry big time. We saw a decline of about 32% globally. It's still going on. I hope there are no new waves. The market is still estimated to grow at a 25%, 28% in the next 5 years, and we hope that that stands true. And with African nations legalizing, this could be even more than anticipated. The word medical cannabis is just been used as a lingo, although it just means that, hey, we use recreationally cannabis is used to get high, but if it is used for a particular medicine or to cure something, it is medical cannabis. There is ongoing research on a lot of autoimmune diseases, a lot of inflammatory diseases, anxiety, sleep disorders, and the only drug I've learned of lately is Epidiolex, which has been approved by the FDA. As a that controls seizures up to 3 times in epilepsy. So I think they're doing a lot of more research, and I think I can share more information for people who are interested. We do have a compilation of the same. On the medical side of things, I made a list of the new cannabinoids out there. I'm not sure if this is readable, but it's the CBD-G, CBD-A, THC-A, THC-C, CBD-N. So, and there are a lot of treatments where we are saying acne, bone growth, osteoarthritis, Crohn's diseases, stomach disorders, acidity reflux. So not just with approved drugs, but I also see that a lot of OTC drugs, so cannabis, medical cannabis all these drugs need not be approved. Like, I also compare this school of medicine, an alternative school of medicine that is medical cannabis, to alternative school of medicines in countries like Thailand, China, or India. Why can't we adopt cannabis as an alternative school of medicine and still be able to source, procure, and sell drugs that are that don't have anything allopathic, nothing harmful, they're all natural in nature, and be able to do that. There are other examples in countries where do have central authorities for alternative schools of medicine. I think this is something that legislation can look at, because getting drugs, allopathic drugs approved from the FDA is a longer process, and I think we get a drug or two maybe every year. But there is a whole lot more that can happen and be helped at the same time. Speaking of the value chain, at a very basic level, it consists of cultivation, all the exercises from seed, cloning, building greenhouses, to irrigation systems, to getting the size of the crop right, to making sure that there is no wolf race, to making sure that the fertilizers are right, to making sure that the percentage of the cannabinoid is correct, to making sure THC is not more than 0.3%. That's been a major concern. There is extraction. In extraction is the heart of the process where biomass of a certain crop is converted into oil. To give you a basic lay of the land, there is, we can take any piece of biomass, throw it to a process using conventional solvent extraction. I think ancient times we used to use ethanol as the solvent. So that has been converted into technologically more savvy equipment, which is cryogenic ethanol, where it's faster and high yields. The second most used in the cannabis industry is carbon dioxide at a higher pressure and temperature. So that will give you the crude oil, and they compare it to the petrol crude, and hence further distillation and purification process is converted into distillate, isolate, broad spectrum, full spectrum. And then further thereon, the cannabinoids can be isolated from the crude. We've got product development, and then branding, marketing, and obviously distribution. Within the value chain, we see there's a lot of different kinds of opportunities that lie from not just formulation of products, but also branding, supply chain, facilitation. There is technology on the cultivation side of things. So there is business intelligence going on throughout the value chain as to how the value chain is reacting to the industry, Do we have the right data? Do we have any wastage that's going on there? So it's not just apart from the core process of growing, extraction, branding, and selling. There is a lot more ancillary businesses that one can look at, and it's imperative to get onto them in the beginning because those are kind of disruptive regions where one can really use their skill set to go forward. Value proposition from a cultivation standpoint. I wanted to speak about if people are looking at cultivation as a value proposition for themselves, seeking money from the government, seeking off-takers, licensing. I think in a collectively exhausted way, it consists of nursery development, it consists of greenhouse cloning technology from a business intelligence standpoint, researching on cultivars, or maybe collecting a database of indigenous cultivars if the legislation allows. A lot of the companies I see are importing seeds and cultivating here and then selling the produce or the bud overseas. And we saw this in South Africa where all of this produce that goes out, the South African industry is buying the oil from overseas. So essentially they are missing the part of the value chain where they sell their own bud overseas and import the oil back into South Africa to make products. So I don't think we want to go that way. And it is important to keep look within at the same time and be making sure that we try to control the value chain. From an extraction and processing standpoint, as I mentioned, the two most frequently used technologies are carbon dioxide and ethanol extraction. There is turnkey equipment supply. We want to look at turnkey automation. I think that's the buzzword in the industry. Like any other industry, be it chocolate, defense, dairy, or pharmaceutical, any equipment that you're looking at, be it pilot scale or lab scale, there has to be some level of intelligence, data integration, and automation established there so that your product is as per standards. And I think as compliance comes into picture, especially now if you're looking at export, being EU GMP, 21 CFR, URS formulations, all of these rules, they sound heavy. And yes, you do need consultants who will come on board making sure your facility is certified. But all the systems, the SOPs in place to ensure that the product is in line and does not get rejected. So just purification, apart from the technologies, there is also hydrocarbon that is used as a extraction method. Post-processing is an important piece because that's where all the isolation and purification happens. The first process there is winterization, then the oil is distilled and then isolated for a particular cannabinoids that you wish to use in the product. If you are trying to get into extraction, I think comparing technologies, it is imperative to look at accessibility of ethanol versus carbon dioxide, the cost of ethanol versus carbon dioxide in the region, availability of biomass, the demand in the region, and your compliances, which is really important for export. And I also mean ATEX. If it's high pressure vessels, then we want to look at ATEX compliances in the region. And if local authorities are not offering, then we want to make sure that if you're buying from outside, we want to make sure that we are buying ATEX compliant equipment. Before beginning, I think we've gone over this, but I'm still going to review that. Licenses, land, business expertise is business planning. I think the need of having robust business plans. You know, all they say that the ghost is in the details, and I see that right happening in here as we mentioned that the business plans are not detailed enough. So it's imperative to, if you have people in your team who can do the vetting for you, if not, should look at business planning in a very practical sense. We can also go connect you to entrepreneurs in the past who have done businesses for growing, for extraction, for sales, for distribution, or all of the above, so that we can see if the numbers are being realistic. There has to be a growth parameter in there when we are making business plans, and not just what year one looks like, and an innovation parameter in there saying if you are compliant, what innovation are we doing year on year. when we are getting into product making, I think we should be looking at making a global product, follow guaranteed safety guidelines. There should be support internally as well as to your clients when you are selling in the export market, because to sell a product once overseas may be an easy go, but we've seen a lot of cases where the wave picks up, you have all of these offtakes come in, business is good, and suddenly after a year or two, it starts dipping in. So to get onto that wave, be innovative at the same time, and look at growing business sustainably within Zimbabwe as well as for the export market. Thank you so much.